stop presenting for a while. I mean, the sharing your screen, so we will be able just to welcome everybody who is participating while the session, I mean, translation will start.
Okay, can I start?
No, just a second, because we are not online right now, so we just have 1 minute more.
Okay, no problem.
And just when after I invite you, so please, yeah, just a few minutes more.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So just stop sharing screen for a while. So like when we start, everybody will see us. Thank you so much, and I will invite you. Well, I will ask the technical support. Are we already online?
Yes.
Yes, are we? Okay, so dear colleagues, dear guests, we are starting the second day of our symposium, City and Education, which is organized by Moscow City University, Moscow. And today we have a keynote session, and we'll have several presentations from Hong Kong, from India, from Turkey. And we expect some questions and some discussion about the role of university first and other educational institutions in the city life and community life and so on. So the most of the attenders are following us in YouTube, and the translation is both in they could attend the original English or translation into Russian. So Victor, dear Dr. Simon Hu representing the University of Linyin, you're welcome, and Professor Joshua Mokkaho, if I'm correct. So, dear colleagues, you're welcome. And you may start sharing your screen and presenting.
Can you see me and hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Chair. Thank you very much for having me, and thanks for the Moscow City University for supporting me and inviting me to join this very meaningful conference, City and Education. So I'm going to present to you a topic which is related to my recent research supported by the Center for Global Higher Education based in Oxford University, where I am one of the international investigator and a member of the center based in the UK. The topic that I'm presenting today is very much about the effects of international education on graduate employability, and sharing with you about my research finding regarding about Chinese students studying in the UK. And I'm sure colleagues would agree with me when we reflect upon the issue about city and education. One of the major trends, not only in China, mainland, but also across different major cities around the world, would be facing the mobility of students. For any serious major cities, global cities, I think global cities would welcome students inbound, and at the same time also send out students for overseas learning in order to promote knowledge transfer, education experience, and also talent circulation. With the rise of Chinese economy, I think the Chinese government and also citizens in China in general have been very serious about higher education. And in what way they can enhance the education experience and also universities' global competitiveness is about internationalizing about the learning experience, internationalizing about curriculum and also research. And today I would like to share with you about my research regarding about Chinese students. And for those they choose to study in the UK, study overseas, and they choose to go for overseas learning, not only for job opportunity, maybe enhanced after studying, but also for self-formation. And for those colleagues, you may not be very familiar with China. I think China has been having a very long history. People really value about education, and family, no matter how rich or poor they are keen to save their money and the asset for supporting their future generations' education, including higher education. So that's why you can see in the last few decades, since 1990, we see more and more students from China mainland. They not only enroll in the university domestically, but also go for overseas for learning in order to enjoy diverse learning experience, and also hopefully through the learning experience elsewhere will improve their experience in job. So if you look into the figure here, there's an international trend. Individual who has a physical across border for learning is about the increase of international students. Of course, you may question that during the COVID-19 pandemic that you and I have experienced a few years ago, and immobility happens. But indeed, during the COVID era, of course, the number has gone down. But in the last year or so, when China opened up to the world after the COVID era, we can see the number of students from China going for overseas learning has indeed increased tremendously. And this is one of the figures showing about the situation. The number of international students has increased tremendously over the last few decades. And one of the major countries of supplying overseas students, outbound students, I would argue is about China. And Chinese student mobility, of course, there are many destinations they choose, but one very popular destination is about UK. So China has become the top exporting country of international students, which contribute to the approximately about a quarter of the world's international students by 2017. And according to the more recent statistics released by the UK Higher Education 21 and 22, the highest number of international students in the UK comes from China. And this number has risen by 87% since 2011 to 12, despite a fall into 20 and 21 when we face about the deep crisis of COVID pandemic. Then the question is why people in China, the younger generation, they're very keen to go for overseas learning. By the way, we have to look at because Chinese university system has expanded and also transformed in the last few decades. And annually, Chinese local university can produce up to over 10 million of local graduates. And given more and more students being provided with opportunity, some of them, if they are of sufficient financial resources, they may go overseas learning because they think that the domestic learning experience could not differentiate themselves, especially after graduation. So many people, they are on the labor market, they are seeking job, they compete for job. So one of the arguments for having overseas learning experience in global cities like Moscow, like Hong Kong, like Beijing and Shanghai, I would think that parents families and also individuals would consider overseas learning may be able to help themselves to become more global competitive in the labor market, locally, regionally, and globally. So the employability skills is well related to learning experience. So these are some of the major arguments that the key to success about graduate whatever they intend to do in later life is very much linked to the acquisition of different forms of skills. And education overseas would enable them to acquire employability and a certain set of skills that students, they just confine their study locally, may not be able to acquire. So I adopt the framework from Light and York, a USEM model of employability. Basically, we define employability as a set of achievement, understanding, and personal attributes which make individuals more likely to gain employment and be successful in their chosen occupations. But bear in mind, here is not only getting employment. Employability is a concept broader than employment per se. It's more about the attributes, skills, and value embedded in employability, which can also relate to one of the major drive for Chinese students to go for higher education is self-formation, rather than only equating education and job. And over the last 20 years, the definition of employability have shifted from demand-led skill sets towards a more holistic view. As I mentioned, it's not only about outcome in terms of job landing, placement in the labor market. And they are talking about a softer, transferable lifelong skill, person-centered qualities. Because without the experience overseas learning, it may not be able to acquire knowledge and kind of skills which can help them to become cross-culturally sensitive. And it's very much about the self-governance skill being picked up during the overseas learning period and developed in conjunction with the subject-specific knowledge, skills, and competence. So it becomes a whole person development, and the kind of attributes are more holistic rather than only landing for job alone. And the key attributes related to employability talk about the soft dimension of lifelong transferable skill are very much related to the language proficiency, appreciation of cultures, understanding about the differences among race and nationality, the soft skill for employability, networking, cultural adaptation, being a collaborative person. These are something people value from Chinese community. Employability developed from the international study also showed that international experience and employability are related with positive advantages, which certainly help individual career development. And King, Friday, and Ahrens point out that students who study in an international arena, especially if they attend high prestigious, highly ranked university, they would be able to accumulate multiple and mutually reinforcing form of capital. Just like Berdil talking about cultural capital, social capital, and different form of capital, and mobility capital, human capital, and social capital, and connection, and cultural capital, eventually economic capital. So that's why people in China are very keen to venture themselves in overseas learning experience, because they think that this is good for their personal development, future job opportunity, and also career planning. Employer, indeed, in China also attribute greater value to international education, thinking people with cross-cultural experience will adapt better for the company, and also working in not only local industry, but also when industry expand to region and also global enterprise. Employer also identify graduates with international experience as possessing the skill to build relationship and network overseas. As I mentioned, it's not only about economic capital, it's social and also cultural capital. And the values of soft skills developed from the international and overseas learning experience, like language acquisition, self-confidence, problem-solving skill, how to manage oneself during the study overseas, and knowledge of about other cultures and experiential learning would help individuals to acquire transferable lifelong skills. And overseas educational experience have historically been recognized as advantages in labor market. So when you compare local graduate with that of the overseas graduate in general, particularly before the COVID time, those returnees would have a better salary package after coming back. And mainland Chinese students have regarded it as a further opportunity to enhance their experience and confer substantial advantage on their return to China. And 1/3 of the employer perceive graduate with overseas learning experience is more, employable, according to recent studies, reflecting about the Chinese student returnees. But we have to qualify, but the saying that I'm not painting the rosy picture for you, because it very much depends on the economic condition of the domestic market in China mainland, and also about whether there are available jobs. If you supply so many students graduating from university annually, it may become a very stiff competition. So the situation of Chinese graduate may face very challenging time. So how to differentiate about themselves with the local graduate would become something very interesting for those returnees. But at the same time, when we are talking about our Chinese students are very keen to go for overseas learning, but in recent years, we also observe because of the COVID, there's a kind of intervening variable affecting about students' desires and motivation for overseas learning. Why? Because during the COVID pandemic, I think colleagues would also realize that international media projecting and reporting about not only Chinese students, but many Asian students when they study overseas, simply because of the differences in public hygiene, public health behavior and perception. When they carry masks, some people in the West or with different culture, they did not perceive so serious, and because of the behavior of hygiene protection would cause some sort of racial discrimination. So during the last couple of years, there are a lot of report or publication showing about the rising, racism against the Asian students, including the Chinese student. So in my research work, we talk about the health hazard and symbolic violence having about the impact on international student mobility. Because of this kind of, safety issue, not only public health safety, but personal security being challenged during studying overseas. Some Chinese and Asian students have begun to say whether going for overseas, particularly in to those traditional destinations like in the West, would call for attention. So we witness quite a number of Chinese and Asian students, they still keep on going for overseas learning, but they may not go to the traditional West, but go to university based in Asia like Singapore, Hong Kong, Japan, and Korea. We indeed see some kind of regional trend being reported in the last couple of years when students, they think, and the family, they think that going for overseas could be something, challenging, especially going to those countries, they have a very different treatment about public health issue. And in the 2023 white paper on studying in China, most recently released, and certainly shows employers in China, when they are having the chance to shop around to choose graduates as their employees, 51% of employers in China think that graduate returning from abroad to have a master's degree or even a doctoral degree would be preferable. So while securing job may not be so easy, the same survey also showed the starting salary for those students with overseas qualification was generally higher than the domestic graduates. So it gives you the idea why students in China if they can afford to go for overseas learning, they still plan for go for overseas learning, because there's a kind of incentive with a so-called perceived better mobility and better career development after studying and return home. So my literature review just outlined for you, basically set about the scenes for my piece of research. We are interested to know about how does the mass media shape the public perception of Chinese graduates studying in the UK, and how do the general public and employer perceive British international graduates in terms of their education and employment. And we are talking about perception through the social media listening and also interview, but at the same time, how true is the perceived benefit have turned into reality? In terms of research method, we adopted social listening techniques to gather secondary data from social and news media platforms to understand about the perception issue. But at the same time, some qualitative analysis based upon textual idea and textual data analysis come out with some finding in answering the question I just outlined. So these are some brief findings. The Chinese student, when they think about going back home with the overseas learning experience, many of them somewhat see advantages. The majority indeed face about 59%, approaching to 60%. They think that overseas learning may help them to have some kind of advantage when going back home for employment. Only 5% seeing very advantageous. It demonstrates to you, of course, they think that this is very, very good to have this experience, but they are not extremely very advantageous. Why? Because the labor market in China mainland, going through the challenging time of COVID pandemic, is not very encouraging. So the competition is very keen. At the same time, those returning, we think that when comparing to domestic, graduate may have a better network and guanxi, because they study with the peer in mainland, they know about the organization. And so that's why the overseas returnee may not think that they are hugely compatible or hugely advantageous when comparing to the local graduates. And talking about perceived advantage, but at the same time, whether they have confidence. About 13% say they are very confident, and somewhat confident about 44%, but quite a large number of respondents saying 32% average confidence. It shows you about the perception, about the attitude, about confidence in getting back home for employment. And how about different form of, feeling? This is interesting to show you about the different reaction when they talk about when you really go back home, what stand your, preparation, what is your emotional stage when trying to get back home for job. These are interesting. They are quite anxious, constitute about 23%, 9% very excited, 15% confident, but quite a number are very uncertain, relaxed, and different, reactions. So when you look into different level of study, doctoral degree, master degree, and undergraduate degree, shows to you the different emotional responses when they are asked about return home for work with overseas qualifications. Not only about the statistics, we also try to talk to those media listening about more qualitative analysis of the media through the media listening. I just give you some of the example cited here. Emma Lee, one of the report from graduating from a Europe Business School in 2024. Emma mentioned about college degrees have depreciated so much in China, and companies set high threshold for fresh graduate to do rather simple work. And so also find sometimes missed calls from recruitment manager back home, and the complication caused by the time difference and jet lag while in Europe. And also most firms should apply to no longer accept online interviews, so it could become a disadvantage during the selection process. Another respondent graduated with a degree in sociology from University of Bristol in 2018 say, I don't think we have much advantage over graduates who study here, especially if we are applying to local or small size company, where hiring departments are more familiar with university in China, such as those LIA5 and 211 project. It demonstrates to the point that I outlined before, some returnee, when compared to the local graduate, they would think that they are not 100% advantageous because they do not have the kind of network. They will not enjoy the kind of social capital, the 關係 relationship, where those local graduates enjoy. So the person in charge in my previous company had no idea what the London School of Economics was. So very famous renowned university in the West may not be recognized locally by some Chinese firm if they are not very ready to know about the famous university elsewhere. Another respondent through the media listening is a graduate from the Bristol School of Sociology, Politics and International Study, also say that those who can get into school in the 985 and 211 project are truly the most capable and dedicated branch in the country. Again, reinforcing the point about social capital back home. And if they do not have this kind of network, they may be at the selection phase, they may put into a very disadvantaged position. So that's why low 100% putting them into a very competitive position when comparing to those local graduates. And then they think the most important thing is about reputation of the school, followed by the credential of individual. As my university is somewhat recognized among Chinese employers, so I'm shortlisted. So it very much depends on whether company they are open to not only overseas returnees, but also whether the company, the employment unit, they know about the university where the applicants come from. A professor from Chinese University also make a comment. It is a stereotype or general perception that students who have studied overseas are more confident and aggressive. Most employers regard the West as the best. So graduate from the branded Western university get some kind of endorsement. Seems like a passport. And many graduates pursue different forms of internship to enhance the further education, which again come to a credential inflation. And Western university rely a lot on the fee that overseas students pay for their income, but some don't provide the kind of service that is of equal value. Again, we also talk to people coming back home. They also have the concern whether university overseas learning could give them a value that where they pay for. But when we talk about different perception, we can see when talking about employability, employer and graduate have a different perception. And during the 2022 and 23 academic year, one of the university in the UK, University of Sheffield, undertook a new study of Chinese students' experience. The study intended to understand the impact of studying in the UK on employability for the Chinese student from the perspective of both students themselves and employers. It's an interesting report, and this it was based upon intensive, in-depth research interview among the Chinese graduate who has studied in the UK, and also some employer in China employing those graduates. So this slide gives you the idea. Both employer and graduate agree that studying in the UK significantly enhance the attribute that they contribute to employability, like initiative, communication, language skill, time management, problem-solving skill, adaptability, inclusiveness, and research skill and global perspective. But some of the area, both the graduate and the employer, they do not have any consensus, like critical thinking, communicating, subject knowledge, persistence, and customer service. They have a different, perception about whether those skills really possessed by graduate. I just cite some of the quote for you to know about the differences between employer and graduate perception about employability. So in the area about professional image management, a graduate think that I think one important skill is to keep myself professional in terms of how to dress myself and how to behave and how to talk as a professional in workplace. But the employer make a very different perspective. Making a professional impression with colleagues or a customer is very important for us. If they always perform like a student rather than a professional, they can't be persuasive with their personal image. Not only in that area, social networking is another area of difference. The graduates think that you need to know how to network with those who you are not very familiar with. Extending such a network is very important in China, but the employer would say that when we recruit overseas students, they need to show their ability to develop good social relationship with their new collaborator or new client and to extend their network. So even though they are talking about network, but the employer will go for new network, but the employees may think that, go for 關係 the old network. Language skill and digital skill also shows about employer and graduate may have a different take about the attributes. So I just round up. Employers prioritized university ranking, degree, qualification, and study and duration when evaluating the candidate applying for job. The single-year master may not be considered valuable enough in the Chinese context. Employer thought that returning students often have inflated salary expectations as they sought to recoup their salary and with the study cost, and graduate viewed relocating to tier 1 city, that means the coastal city in the eastern coast, rather than going to the lower tier city, face a problem. When there are jobs available in the lower tier city, but some of the returnees, they don't want to go for this city, may cause about the mismatch of about the job and also the expectation of individuals. So I want to conclude my piece of work and why it is important about the Chinese student going for overseas and how this piece of research is related to the theme of city and education. And there are perceptions that universities are solely interested in international students as a source of revenue. The more we know about internationalization of higher education globally, I hate to say that some of the host university, they do not provide sufficient services and support to students, but they charge high fee. And so that's why people may complain about paying high fee without getting the value sufficient enough to equate to the price they pay. So the absence of the tailored employability support for many students may cause them to think and rethink about whether they have to go for overseas purely for qualification. Because for Chinese students, they're not looking for only getting a degree, a qualification. They're talking about a transformation of life. They're talking about employability broadly defined as a more holistic concept rather than only talking about employment as an outcome. And other studies also argued the cultural difference may contribute to some of the, international students' choice of career, and the Chinese international students' lack of cultural understanding to recognize the relevance of university employment support and opportunity may affect their future take about education overseas. And Chinese students may present a specific challenge for career services to engage with traditional family influence like, 關係 in back home. So what's the major lesson learned from this study? I think not only Chinese students, I would argue Asian students, now we are living in a post-COVID era, still consider education overseas, studying abroad, are very positive to their career development, not only career, but also personal development. But overseas learning definitely broadened graduates' horizon and international outlook. But local connection and network still matter in job search back home, especially in the Chinese context. And at the same time, we should look that we are living in a world of complexity these days. I hate to say that, but we have to live with the reality. We are facing the challenge of the rise of the influence of the post-COVID era with the geopolitics on international student mobility. And the Chinese government has tried very hard to work with different partners around the world, but because of the growing impact of geopolitics would have affected student choices. When you ask a major university in China, the student, when they go for overseas learning, still they think that US will be the most popular destination. However, they have changed their mind because the China-US relationship is not very, encouraging for the time being. And so they chose other destinations for study like the UK and some Asian university, including Hong Kong. And only considering about affordability, worthiness, and safety issue, but I think they also take into the national security issue like the geopolitics and also the discrimination may be facing about the dilemma when considering overseas learning. But indeed, when you talk to Asian student, Chinese student, and also more research being reported about the learning experience, the student mobility related topic, we found Asian and Chinese students are more concerned not only about the degree they get from overseas learning, but also the learning experience matters to them. What sort of support, what sort of environment of support. So what is the piece of work here have the implication for city and education? My humble view is major urban cities would try to become a hub for knowledge exchange and talent circulation, including Moscow, including Beijing, Shanghai, Delhi, around the world. So in what way we can create a learning environment? University has a role to play working out a better learning environment which can attract students from other parts of the world to come in. But at the same time, the inbound student would really add value to the local student in terms of internationalization on campus. And at the same time, urban cities should be open enough for sending students out. The circulation of talent would be very important to sustain the future development of urban area. And promoting student mobility is to enhance cross-cultural understanding, I think, which is very essential these days. Why we still keen about internationalization of education? Because better understanding about courses, cultures, and also differences that we are, I think we can be more accommodative. We can be tolerant about differences and prevent us from getting into fights and unnecessary war. So when we rethink about the role of urban city in education, I think we have to rethink about international education for nurturing caring professional with global vision. I very much hope that we work together, collaborate for creating and co-creating a better environment for enriching our future generation experience. They become very good professional, but they care not only about their job. They care about the global development. They care about the world. They could become a peacemaker, a mediator of conflicts. And why international mobility of students is important again. It helps future city leaders to act responsibly and think regionally and globally for helping our future generation, the younger generation, they embrace global citizenship. By talking about global citizenship, I think students graduating from overseas learning, they understand the complexity of cultures, politics, and economies. They need to collaborate and engage into very productive collaboration for promoting public good, promoting human betterment as part of the mission to become a global citizens. So I just end my presentation. I welcome comments and also questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Professor Joshua Mokho. We value a lot the experience of Hong Kong, one of the most global cities and most multicultural cities in the world. And special thanks for this analysis on post-COVID tendencies of international education. And we are about running out of time, but still, if the colleagues have any questions, you're welcome. And because I have one, and but if there are some of other participants who would like to ask some questions from Professor Joshua Mokho, you're welcome. If nobody raised the hand, I would ask my question, having this preference that I'm keeping the microphone. You mentioned in one of the slides, and again, it was really a great explanation of and differentiation between important soft skills. And one of the soft skills you mentioned was about networking. And my question, but it's like about the student skills. And my question is about the role of local communities, just based on your experience, both like when the Chinese, like your students are studying in the UK, and the role of the local communities there, and backwards when the international students come to Hong Kong, the role of the local communities to grow those skills, or like to be helpful in different ways. So what's based on your experience, what are your impressions, ideas?
Well, thank you for the question. I think this is important, especially I'm now working for Ningnan University. The motto of my university is education for service. So I think naturally we have to engage our students to become a responsible citizen by serving the community, by integrating what they've learned from the book and knowledge to carry out actions for supporting community development. And through this engagement or wider engagement, I have found my students become more humble, and also they become more willing to serve, because this is a reality check. Some of the family or even overseas students coming to Hong Kong, they made
Professor, looks like
So if we can engage our students to understand about the issue identified, and so we also collectively work out some kind of community solution or support. And this is not only good for student learning. Students also value that sort of learning, experiential learning through engagement in the community. So through that, I think which is a really, really good learning experience. I cite another example because I'm talking about global citizenship. Our students do not learn within Hong Kong alone. We also set out to go for some developing regions, like some of the regions in Africa. They really need some kind of support. So with design thinking, students work in the local community in India, in Africa, some area of working with the NGO there for identify issues that they can use their design thinking skill for co-creating some solution for local community. A very simple thing, using the mature technology, simple technology, could help those people alleviating from poverty. And when students come back with this sort of global engagement project, they learn a lot. And they really think that, we are so fortunate in Hong Kong, so resourceful, and the world is not like that, and in what way they can make contribution in future after graduation to help those people they are in need, to sharpen their thinking about global citizenship.
Yeah, thank you so much. And for those who joined our session later, I will repeat once more that it was Professor Joshua Mok-Ho, the Vice President and the Dean of School of Graduate Studies, Co-Director of Asia Pacific Higher Education Research Partnership in Linhan University, Hong Kong. Thank you so much, Professor. And
thank you for joining.
First, I hope for our future collaboration, and I hope that you will stay with us as long, at our session, as long as you will be able to do it. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I see that our colleague from Turkey, from University Alanya, Turkey, Professor Hukash Ahmad Nia joined us. Joined our keynote session, and if you are able to start your presentation right now, you're welcome, or you need some more time if you feel comfortable.
Thank you very much, dear Professor Igor, for your kind invitation. It will be a great pleasure for me to be here with you, and apologize for the delay to joining you. I think it was time issues. I'm ready to start if you let me. And
you're welcome. Yeah, you're welcome.
Also,
to do it,
welcome. I also would like to welcome all our authors and participants of this valuable conference. I'm sure that it will have a great good contribution to our academy, the result of the articles that we are going to publish in this based on this conference. Actually, today I'm going to have a journey with each other on the on urban aesthetic configuration, and the way that, let's say, how we are calling space configuration as a beautiful object or phenomena, and we are going to look at it from psychological point of view to be able to understand these key characters and factors. So we need to understand the necessity of it, and you know that to understand this necessity and why we need to have, let's say, the urban beauty and space configuration, we need to go through the, let's say, Second World War, the time that the machine, let's say, entered to our living space and our society and urban space configuration, the way that it has been involved after, let's say, Industrial Revolution and Second World War. Our architects somehow missed, let's say, the traditional principles of applying urban space configuration from aesthetic point of view in their modernized context. That's why we can see through the literature that they are mentioning about the conglomeration of objectives or cold landscapes of 20th century, or buildings are treated as isolated object. And looking to those keywords throughout the literature, we can see that in those era of industrialization and after Second World War, we are having such a kind of gap that architects and urban designers miss those, let's say, principles, aesthetic design principles in urban spaces and even in architecture. And looking, so the architects try to practice on those era, and we can see that the Puerto Rico, which Charles Jenks mentioned, that it has been called as, let's say, the end of modernism and bringing idea of the postmodernism to us. And we can see that in this era, so we are trying to again look back to the human scale and principles of aesthetic design from contextual point of view, and recontextualizing the city which have already been destroyed, those based on those principles of, let's say, modernism. So we can see that those let's say, modernism and globalization effects, we miss those imaginability, legibility, wayfinding, and those livability of the urban spaces. So which was, the aim here is to see how we can revive those principles in urban design again, to bring those aesthetic principles and characteristics back to our problem, to our context. So we can see that there's a gap in this literature that we need to fill, and those gap refers to those indicators and principles which we need to be aware as an architect and urban designer. That's why to finding the main factors affecting those aesthetic qualities in urban space configuration is our main key characteristics and key rules that we need to be aware. Based on that, we will try to look at first of all, we will try to look to the urban space and context to see which factors and which indicators are affecting directly to the human cognition process, let's say. So we know that there might be even hundreds or thousands of those indicators. All of them are already there, and we are aware about that. Maybe even if we don't aware, but it has direct effects to human cognition process to decide at the end that whether this context is beautiful or not. That is why we believe that, let's say, there might be a language to interpret the relationship between urban design element and human cognition process. So the aim here is to understand those language, to see how those elements could be classified based on human cognition process. And if we reach to that level, automatically we'll be able to, let's say, design in such a way that to increase the aesthetic quality of the urban environment. So to reach to that, let's say, model, first of all, we need to go with some specific keywords, specifically to define the difference between aesthetics and beauty. You know that aesthetics is a science which is somehow studying, but from the other side, beauty is a characteristic. So the aesthetics is a science who's trying to study the quality and the characteristics of space, even the form, even the shape, and which could be everything. So from the other side, understanding the keywords of aesthetics, coming to the definition of urban aesthetics, we can see that urban aesthetics highlights a pleasurable place for, let's say, people's contemplation, personal reflection, and enjoyment and relaxation. So here it is not about, as you can see, aesthetic is not just about objective organization, but the way that people are going to reflect and, let's say, and response to that environment or explore that environment. All those keywords gather together to define that this place would be aesthetics from a person's point of view. So, of course, in organization of urban spaces, we need to be aware that whatever we are designing not necessarily be too much complex or less with less elements. So, if we bring those complexity to the urban space configuration, we might automatically create, let's say, low aesthetic space organization or increase the stress and undesirable environment. Or if we create a less detailed or configured urban spaces, we might miss those, again, we can call it a lost space. That's why as an expert in this field, we need to find those, let's say, balance in this configuration. Of course, it will need experience, time, dedication, and research. The problem which is indexed stay in that context, and based on that, we have to design the optimum zone to be able to call those configuration as aesthetics. So those, if we increase those configuration or decrease, automatically we will create undesirable urban environment. I will talk about the filters, Rappaport's filter theory of space cognition. But before that, we need, again, regarding aesthetics, we need to be aware that in such a kind of context and perception, there are two types of top-down and bottom-up process, which leads to call this configuration as, let's say, which leads to, let's say, human cognition response, which could be negative or positive. Those top-down process, which is coming from the human culture, familiarity, knowledge, background, age, gender, or from the other side, referring to this bottom-up process, which is coming from, let's say, human sensation process, which is coming from those objective elements and its organization of the space. These are all gathered together to human cognition process, a perception, and then cognition, and then response to those environment. Apart from that, as an architect and urban designer, we need to be aware about the whatever we are designing from Maslow's hierarchy of this essential requirements, which they believe that those aesthetics, cognition, aesthetics of the urban environment, to be able to reach to that level, of course, we need to consider the essential, let's say, background requirements, such as physiological needs, safety needs, sense of affiliation, sense of esteem, sense of reflection, to being respected, so to be respected in the, let's say, context. or try to explore that context. So those, let's say, step-by-step development will reach to those level. If we manage to fulfill all those requirements, we will be able to call, let's say, those composition, those urban space configuration as, let's say, aesthetic approach. So looking to those, let's say, literature, we can see that those urban aesthetics could be considered again as another pillar for sustainability in urban spaces, parallel with its own social, economical, and ecological. It means that if we couldn't manage to reach the pillar of sustainability, urban aesthetics, if we will be able to manage a nice image with a good quality and also good interaction from sociological point of view, would be considered as another pillar for sustainability, which we needs to be considered in our design process. Looking to the literature, there are 100 different indicators that they are mentioning about the beauty in urban environments, and it's their own classification, starting from, let's say, legibility, livability, permeability, human scale, let's say, access, comfort. There are hundreds of these indicators. All of them refers to the quality, beauty, and aesthetics in urban environment. Those gaps that I mentioned at the beginning, there is no specific, let's say, scientific classification of those indicators under specific umbrella. What I try to do in this research is that somehow look at those indicators, which is the essential part of our, let's say, classification to develop specific model for human cognition process that I will mention at the end of this presentation. So, as I mentioned, let's say, perception of the environment is the main, which leads us to judge about those environment, to say that whether that environment is beautiful or not. So, to understand that one, human Rappaport's theory of cognition process, which are mentioning about the culture, people's culture and their personal image, are directly affects to say that whether this context is beautiful or not. Maybe some people from specific culture might not necessarily like the specific design, so the other culture, vice versa. So as an architect and urban designer, we need to find those optimum approach, which is acceptable from the majority of the people in that specific context that we are designing. So in that case, we will be able to increase the satisfaction rate, so-called at the end, the beautiful design. So, as I mentioned, those, let's say, observe environment by, which is mostly objectives, and those objectives could be formal and symbolic classification, and could be classified based on the static and dynamic indicators, all of them, the, let's say, objectives elements in urban space configuration, which have been designing based on specific symbolic and meaning and functional factors. Apart from that, those formal indicators which creates diversity, harmony, and clarity, and in the context. From the other side, observer based on their own cultural image, personal image, and characteristics, and their ideological factors, age, gender, background, all of them, they are coming together to each other to reach to that cognition process, to say at the end that whether this, to judge that context, to judge that environment, to say at the end that whether this space or this composition is beautiful or not. So this, we all know that the sensation of the urban environment would be based on these sensory stimuli such as sight, sound, smell, taste, and texture. So that's why we need not necessarily we focus on the sense of sight by our eyes. We might focus on the smell, the taste, the texture, and the sound by the time that we are designing. So all of them, we believe that yes, the sense of sight, 80% according to the scholars, the beauty are coming from the eyes. But the sounds and smells, which might create a memory of that place, which affects directly to the call it as a beautiful place, are coming from another sensory stimulus that we need to be aware by the time that we are designing. So those designing again based on those objective elements could be static or dynamic. The dynamic factors that's
Dear Furkash, I'm so sorry, but like we are running a bit about running out of time. So just if you can be, thanks.
Thank you, my dear. Yes, those static and dynamic directly affects to the beauty. The formal and symbol factors again. In the second stage of the aesthetic cognition affect directly to the beauty. That's why human aesthetic response will be based on those indicators that we have gathered, classified based on knowledge and experience. And at the end, the model which shows how we can manage to define aesthetic beauty based on human cognition process, based on all the indicators which exist in the literature. This model represents, we need to be aware of it as an architect and urban designer by the time that we are designing. So those statics could be implemented in the city scale, neighborhood scale, and building scale, and even indicators which exist, the definition of beauty in the street, comparing the city or the building inside the neighborhood have different indicators and meanings that we need to be aware. And those there are specific again implementation model that we need to be aware by the time that we are trying to assess specific indicators of an element of the city or elements of the building in the city, and or vice versa within this model. And at the end, we need to be aware that human needs are those essential factors that we need to be aware by the time that we are designing, which leads to aesthetic human well-being and as urban aesthetic condition. Those theoretical findings represent that the building and non-building urban environment are at the same time, by amalgamation of those indicators and key factors, we need to be aware about that, which leads to aesthetic, let's say, beauty. And those cognition process and semantic scholars theories represent that we need to be explore the context to bring to sense of satisfactory to our own selves, to say that for this context is beautiful. That's why always let's design a building in such a way, or context in such a way, that to give some chance of exploring the space with its participants, to explore it, to call it as beauty. And of course, human tastes are important. And at the end, I can say that the organization between the objectives elements of the urban design by preparing interactions between sensual desire, immediate states of involvement, and comprehensive feeling, prepared well-being for individuals and societies in terms of survival and enjoying the properties which the environments offer, which leads to have a beautiful urban space configuration. That is all, dear Professor Igor, from my side. I'm here to answer if you have any question in this regard.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kurakshit. For me, as for the psychologist by basic education, it was a real pleasure to attend your presentation, and those links between aesthetic and cognitive sides are very deep and interesting for me. And this modernized Maslow pyramid is also a piece of art somehow. Yeah, and unfortunately we don't have so much time for questions right now. You will be able to stay till the end of the session. Probably we'll have more times. I could speak with you at least 1 hour based on your presentation, but like maybe in another format or later today. Dear colleagues, first I would like to thank you again for your presentation, Hurash.
Thank you very much, my dear. It was a great pleasure for me.
Yeah, and dear colleagues, I just want to say that just we have an agreement that we can stay longer, so everybody will have a chance to speak today, so we can overlap a bit the next session. And we have the kindly request from Arti Singh Sardana from Punjab, India, who is who have to run for the classes. So if the presenters will be so kind to let her speak, so you're welcome.
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to interact with all of you. I represent my school here, where we are the changers of the city in a small city in Punjab, where we have been working very closely for the entrepreneurship right from the early ages. And my presentation will give you a brief overview of the school, that how we are bringing the change not only with the children in the school, but how it is impacting in the entire city for the young schoolers, those who go, and how they have been developed into different skill sets. So it's very well known that an investment should be there in education, and we totally believe in this. And this is how our entire program has been developed accordingly. So we say yes, that is Young Entrepreneur School. And I may be asking what is important to all of you, the people present here. Is it academics, sports, or extracurricular activities? What do you think it is more important?
I think it's all in balanced way.
All right. Great. So you may find that we cannot miss either of the things as informed by Ms. Milvinder. So we usually try to feel one type of schools which are more academically proven, and they are more into that, where they talk more into rote learning, traditional ways of teaching and learning by the children. And then we have another type which is focused more on sports. Those also schools you will find not in India, but out of India also. They will be more focused with sports. Then we have schools which present and they focus more on co-curricular activities. So when we talk, which one you will choose? More with academic, sports and co-curricular activities, more with sports and then, so one area becomes the major part and the other are little less important. So when we talk, the choices are tough, which one is to pick up, though it is a balanced way. But when we meet parents on daily basis, it is very difficult to identify which is important, because coming era, 21st century, is very, very difficult to identify which part the children are going to pursue in. So, and during 1946, this is a brief history which I'm going to tell you about DCM schools of groups. So it was a dream that there should be a wonderful education system. And when this initiative was started by late M.R. Das, he actually came up with an idea where there should not be any requirement of extra thing out of the school, and school should be enough, where everything has been provided within the school boundaries. So he's the founder, and his daughter then further continued with the legacy of her father, and she was been given a lot of lifetime achievement awards into the contribution of the education line. Her son, Dr. Anirudh Gupta, the CEO of the DCM group, he's an entrepreneur, and we have 8 schools, but then also every school is with a concept. So one school will have a regular total impact on AI, and the other school will be more focused into entrepreneurship. And then another school will be more into Cambridge and international learning. So he's much into that, and with his vision. And Ragini Gupta, who's his wife, and he looks into academics. So we have these schools, 6 and 2 are launching this year, where every school has been designed with a different mindset and with a different vision, where we work with children very closely and work on their competencies and skills. So in 2022, the school I am heading, this was born with 75 years of experience, and the tagline we use is cradle to corporate. Doesn't mean that we are taking babies from cradle and we are preparing them for corporate. Here, it totally means that we are working, as I said, on the skill set. Entrepreneur people usually get amazed while looking into the infrastructure and the vision of the school, that are you trying to create startups and the businessmen, business children right from the tender age? No. Wherever children go, either to corporate or they go to some government jobs or they have their own startups, they need to have few skill sets. They need to be confident. They need to be great communicator. They need to know why they fail. So failing is one aspect where we encourage children that it's okay to fail in the startups they do in the school, in the projects which they're able to not succeed, and then look out where they were failing and why they couldn't succeed. So one, unique. These are the International Board of Advisors at our school, which usually participate in regular school community programs and online programs. They visit to the school and they mentor our children. So we totally believe in transforming every child to their optimum potential, where we lay the strong foundation. And entrepreneur is the basic thing in our school, where from grade 1, a lot of activities, financial literacy management has been taught. So children not only file GSTs and taxes in grade 9 and 10, but they learn also. We do have a wonderful startup setup. We call it Y Hub, where new startups are being discussed, pitched, and then they watch the stocks online in the school and they understand why few stocks go up and go down in the school. So this gives a lot of hands-on experience to the children and exposure to the real world. So 1 year of the opening, we had major core pillars. We work, as I closely said, in entrepreneur skills, leadership skills, creative arts, global exposure. When I say global exposures, our children do participate with the international schools, inter-exchange programs, where children understand and they really realize the difference in a positive way, that what other countries are doing. They visit and other children also visit here in the school. And along with that, it is mandatory for our children to be very good, not only in academics, but it is important for them to choose one instrument of music as a part of their academic curriculum. IT and AI is very much part of our curriculum. Along with that, character building, very important. They need to know what they're doing and why. Commerce and trade, when we say they, as I said, stocks, why, how they have been transferred, why and how and where they have to buy. Financial literacy, when a 50 rupees is given to a child, to grade 1 child, he or she should know where to spend, why to spend, and whether they have to spend it or not. Along with that, wellness and yoga programs with scientific temperament, very much important with children, because they are all born in technologies. These Gen Z children, they only know tablets and everything. So what we are doing in the school to bring a difference in their lives. So this is what our initiative we talk here at YES. And the sports facilities, right from shooting range to basketball to tennis and cricket, all these facilities are there in the school. Variety of clubs, when we say, they are very much part of their curriculum. And they not only learn fire-free cooking, but photography and science and startups are there, where they very closely work with the communities around the school. There are the aerial. We do have aeronautics teaching in the school, which is usually very surprising for many universities and schools, that how we can teach aerospace to the children. So these are the glimpses of the school where children build their own aircrafts and they understand how to fly them. And the little 3D printers help them to build up the aircrafts also. So these are the glimpses of the laboratories that been done, facilities given. And if you see the London Bridge, that has been created by the children only. So Aero Bay is there. Then we have an initiative with Yes Talks. We usually invite people from outside our center, not only the national leaders, but the international people visiting our campus and encouraging and innovating children to try their projects and activities in different areas. So TED programs inspired by TED Talks. There are the initiatives in the school, which again, children to become more confident and great communicators. So these are some of the pictures. This is Y-Volt session, entrepreneurs. We are very much into that. I am very happy to tell that 2 or 3 children in our school, they have launched their own startups. They have their own websites at the age of 12 and selling stray dogs and cats online for the children, for people to adopt. So these are the academic programs where we have tied up Burlington, Britannica, Khan Academy, UdoPro, Proton, Microsoft. We are a Microsoft showcase school, so very much into technology and AI. So these are the programs which are very active in the school program, and children do a lot of spade work and research before they come to the school. And they do their own activities and projects. We have tied up with many universities, those who come as leading speakers and share their experiences. And we do give them the projects during their summer vacation as a shadow work experience starting from grade 6 onwards. So these are the glimpses in the evening and in the morning. These are the international global experiences with Ukraine and other countries. So if we talk about core skills which require children, so they need to be wonderful speaker, they need to be physically fit, an intelligent mind, and calm and peaceful character. These are 4 things where we focus on our children, and our entire curriculum has been built accordingly. And we prepare children for universities and college. Here, many speakers spoke about universities, differences, but yes, it's a big challenge when we talk here, talking about children, when they come. Why we say we have taken this topic? Because we are the changers here in Punjab, in the city, because this is the city of entrepreneurs. There are a lot of many businesses and hosieries which export. So we thought to have this program here in the city, where we felt that from children coming from rural area to city, what difference we can make in a farmer's life when he expects his child to go to a modern school, whether his or her child will be able to make it to the university internationally or not. So we do address the pain points of the students and parents accordingly. We have a continuous mentorship program where mentor remains the same entire the education life of the child when the child is here, because teachers keep on changing every year. So mentor actually keeps a record from kindergarten to grade 12. What were the good things there in child's life when child came to us? And every year, what new things child is adding and ignoring. So mentor is there along with all stakeholders. They discuss what all can be done at home and school. That is one wonderful initiative we run here. Along with that, we do not have the cramped classrooms. They're all fully air-conditioned school we have. We have IFPDs and AI embedded classrooms and comfortable buses. We do have Cambridge, Australian curriculum and CBSE in the school and tie-ups. I would, as the time is less, so I would not share any story here, which I actually planned. So I always say, trust the experience, because we all have more than 2 decades of experience, those who are running the show. So over to you. So if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Yeah, thank you so much, dear Arti. First, I have to say that I'm jealous of your students because that's fantastic life, and that's really brilliant. And I just also have to mention that usually we speak in this conference as well about the third mission of the university, but based on your presentation, I have to say it looks like your college the school have providing third mission involving community and presenting to them and sharing knowledge, and that's really important. I just like if we have any chance to just one short question to Arti, so the colleagues here welcome.
I would really request anyone to visit the campus. It'll be a great learning experience for our students as well.
Yeah, as at the first opportunity I will do it. So thank you for it. I feel myself invited all of this. So thank you so much for the invitation.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, and have a success with your classes. And thanks again
so
for the
Thank you.
Thanks. And we can move further. And dear Balvinder Kaur, you're welcome to our virtual stage. Sorry for making you waiting, and please switch on the mic, then we will hear you better.
Yeah.
Yes.
Am I audible now?
Yes.
So thank you so much, Professor Igo. And of course, it was lovely listening to the great people. So I think this wait was a good time. So now I am going to begin with my presentation, which is on educational trajectories of Punjab, initiatives and challenges in informed development. As my fellow speaker, Ms. Arti has just mentioned a little bit about the Punjab. So I'll just take a couple of seconds, I must say, just explaining what state Punjab is actually. So Punjab is a vibrant state nestled in the heart of India. Historically, it is known as a land of 5 rivers, and it has a rich cultural and agricultural heritage. It is renowned for its vibrant culture, including traditional music, dance forms, and festivals celebrated around the year. And also economically, Punjab is known as the granary of India due to its significant contribution to the nation's food grain production. And the state also has a thriving industrial sector, particularly in sectors like textile manufacturing and agro-processing. So, Punjab has a population of approximately 30 million people, making it one of the most densely populated states in India. The majority of population resides in the rural areas engaged in agricultural and allied activities. But against the backdrop of Punjab's dynamic demography, marked by the population of 30 million and gross domestic product of $98 billion, it significantly contributes to India's economy. As per the RBI, it's a Reserve Bank of India data, that state government spending on education in Punjab has continuously increased from 4,339 crores in 2010 to 15,654 crores in year 22 and 23. And the education in government schools of Punjab has has seen a notable improvements in recent years. I would like to highlight here that the school that Aarti Singh just mentioned, here we consider them the A-class schools, which are run by the private trusts or the organizers, and these are basically self-financed schools. So my study basically focused on the schools which are run by the government, and the conditions and the situations of the government schools is completely opposite to what we have just seen in the slides of Ms. Aarti's presentation. So education system in government schools of Punjab has seen notable improvements, and efforts are underway to assure equitable access to the quality education, particularly in rural and marginalized areas. For that, certain kind of initiatives have been taken. And if we look towards the India's development strategy, which has indeed prioritized quantity-driven metrics such as increasing the literacy rates, reducing dropouts, and boosting enrollments. And as per the development plans, it is clearly visible in this figure, which depicts that literacy in India has been increasing as more and more people receive a better education. And in the year 2022, the rate of literacy in India was about 76.32%, with the majority of literate Indian being men only. Whereas in the year 1981, it was just 40.76%. So we are almost to the, in 4 decades, we have increased our literacy rate as well. However, the evolving situation demands a shift towards emphasizing the quality of education along with quantity. No doubt, it is very much required to improve infrastructure and resources for the upliftment of education, but at the same time, it is necessity to revamp the teaching methodologies, the curricula, modern needs, and fostering critical thinking as well as problem-solving skills among the students. So, believing the fact that education serves as a cornerstone of human capital development, facilitating not only the individual growth, but also fostering economic prosperity and societal advancements, Punjab government took many educational initiatives and invested to strengthen various resources to strengthen the education system of the state. And by doing so, it just unlocked the potential of the citizens by empowering them with the knowledge and skills necessary to drive innovation, productivity, and sustainable economic growth. With all those efforts, we can see that that literacy rate in Punjab has seen upward trend in the recent years. As per the year 2021, it has reached to 83.7% from 75 to 84% in a couple of years. Out of that, male literacy stands at 80.44%, while female literacy is still less, which is 70.73%. But still, with this, Punjab is at number 14 in literacy rate with 75.8%. So over the years, Punjab has witnessed notable transformations in education system, reflecting the evolving needs of its populace and broader societal context. And it seems as if Punjab is just setting out an example for others to learn from. Considering all this situation, my study was focused to know what exactly those educational initiatives were, and what were the influences and the perceptions teachers, students, and the parents, the close stakeholders of those initiatives, they have that what kind of perceptions they had, and what kind of challenges they faced during this implementation process of the initiatives, all these initiatives. So my study research was conducted in 2 phases. Initially, I started with the quantitative data methodology. I followed the quantitative method, and the structured survey was distributed to around 150 people, which consists around 85 students, 35 teachers, 30 parents. And those structured survey questionnaire was distributed electronically through Google Forms. And the only focus that to know about the initiatives, because the information about the initiative was there on the websites of the government and the ministries. And of course, some state board websites are there. So we got the information about the recent and all the initiatives from those websites. And then afterwards, the questions were structured to know what kind of perceptions that stakeholders have about those initiatives. And in the second phase, the qualitative data methodology was approached. And for that, semi-structured interview was conducted. Of course, the prior consent was taken from the stakeholders, and in that, from the survey questions, some kind of variation was found. That we found the extremities. There was one group of people which strongly supported the initiatives, and they mentioned that all good points, but still there was a set of population which who were not satisfied from the initiatives. So we took the semi-structured interviews with those two different groups of the diverse opinions. Something went wrong. Okay, so this is about sampling. That's phase 1, quantitative data, random sampling technique was followed. I just forwarded and circulated the Google Forms to as many as people due to, and after just doing all the analysis work, I just selected the 150 people from for the first phase, and 30 people were with purposive sampling. They were selected for the semi-structured interview. So these were the initiatives which were, I would not go into the detail, but I'll just summarize. The first, it was 2012, which was on e-education program. And second was Punjab Skill Initiative, which was a development mission, which was launched in the year 2014. Then there was Digital Punjab Initiative in year 2017. After this, we had the very two important initiatives, which actually has turned the whole situation in the government schools. And if we focus on the objectives of all these initiatives, they share a common kind of aims of enhancing the quality of education through digital resources, improving access to educational materials, fostering digital literacy skills, and creating engaging learning environments. And these initiatives have collectively led to improved student engagement, motivation, and academic performance. Additionally, teachers with digital tools and methodologies got promoted innovations and creativity in education. And moreover, the focus on equitable access ensures that educational opportunities extend to all segments of society, promoting social inclusion and economic growth. And however, each initiative also addresses the specific challenges within the education sector. For instance, the initiative here that is there in the screen, about 2017, it was launched. It's about Padho Punjab, Padhao Punjab. It is in Punjabi, and which means read Punjab and teach Punjab. The slogan is. So, and the other initiative, that Smart School Projects, this emphasizes the curriculum enhancement and teacher training to improve the quality of education in government schools. Similarly, the Smart School Project aims to modernize the educational infrastructure and teaching methods in government schools through the integration of technology. Despite all these similarities, differences in is focused. All initiatives ultimately aim to enhance learning experience and promote education excellence in Punjab. So after this, in year 2019, this Punjab Smart Connect scheme and Smart School policy was launched. The main objectives of this initiatives were to transform the education system by integrating technology into the education sector to enhance learning outcomes and provide students with access to digital resources and tools, and to modernize the school infrastructure to improve teaching training in digital literacy and promote e-learning initiatives across schools in Punjab. And under this Smart School project, many other very important projects took birth. as a English Booster Club was initiated, and the mission Sat Pratishat, which in English means mission 100%. And then there is another practical initiative that was Library Langar. Library Langar is basically in English, it means the community food or community for the community service. So education was expanded to be accessible for all the students studying in whatsoever school they are, and for all the teachers, by all the teachers, and whole syllabus was covered under the first that mission 100%. It was also initiated in the year 2019, which basically focused to achieve 100% results in the schools. And the main focus was to strengthen the digital education infrastructure in the schools through ebooks, EduSet lectures, e-content, online classes, broadcast of lectures through television or video lectures. And it also boosted the standards in government schools, which had witnessed massive improvements in the education quality and performance in the past 3 years, in line with the state government's decision to curb all practices in the board. So under this mission, around 100 crore rupees were provided to the government schools to uplift the situation of the schools. And not only this, under this initiative, around 130,000 mobile phones and tablets were distributed to the school students so that they can continue their education through the digital modes. And after this, when this mission 100% was in its air, COVID took place, and all of the sudden, everything was shut down. Then this kind of educational panacea that we call it, that's the Punjab Educare app, that was developed. It was invented, developed, and still upgraded by a government school teacher. The teacher is his teaching subject is mathematics, and under this study, I got a chance to see him and have his opinions as well. And he is one of the participants of this research as well. And he developed this mobile app, e-Educare, Punjab Educare, which is available as in the form of websites as well as a mobile application. And it covers many important features, like it is prepared and maintained by teachers, as all the subject experts, they just make their video lessons and post here. And it is also given the name of digital school bag, because right from the first standard, right from the kindergarten classes up to 12th, all the subjects, syllabus, lessons, everything is there in this app. And it is very highly cost effective and time effective. It is updated on the daily basis. Lessons are all by the subject experts. It's bilingual, authentic, uniform, and it covers the not only the state board's syllabus, also it focused on the National Council of Educational Research, Training and Syllabus. So the features are endless, but I have picked a few of them just to highlight here. And some of the facts of these apps are here, that it was just launched in July 2020, and in the period of just 6 months, it gained popularity, not only in the state and even out of the state. It became very popular thing. And this mobile app helped government as well as I can say all the stakeholders to attain that initiative of mission 100%, because all the students could approach the learning material despite being at home. They were not going to schools. Teachers were not physically present in the schools and with the students, but still they were cooperating and they were able to continue their education afterwards. And immediately after this, there was National Achievement Survey, which is conducted every 3 years in a country just to check the educational health of the country. So this National Achievement Survey is basically done by the Ministry of Human Resource Development of India. And in this performance grading index is being considered, and under this this survey, every school and every state is evaluated under these 5 main heads, which are learning outcomes, quality, access to school education, infrastructure and facilities, equity, governance process in total. So in year 20 and consecutively in the following year, Punjab was the first, was on the top in this performance grading index. It could happen only all because of those initiatives which were taken by the government, and all the stakeholders, they supported, and they just followed the things, and the results were there. So my second research question was to know the perceptions and attitudes of the stakeholders about these all educational initiatives in the Punjab. As I mentioned earlier, that there was a positive attitude, efforts to improve access to quality education and enhance learning outcomes. Students noted, they highlighted the benefits of initiatives such as Padho Punjab, Padhao Punjab, the same initiative, for providing access to digital learning resources, modern infrastructure, and interactive teaching methods. However, some students expressed concern about the adequacy of the resources, particularly in rural and remote areas, where infrastructure and technology is not up to the mark. So these were the challenges which were highlighted by the students. But still, they highlighted the importance of supportive learning environment and the teacher quality that they were getting through these all initiatives. And the perspective that we gained from the interview of the teachers was completely different from the students and the parents, as teachers hold mixed perceptions towards these initiatives, as no doubt they recognized the potential to improve the teaching practice and student outcomes, as it helped them in many ways in preparing lessons and getting help from the other platforms. But still, they were having they were facing the challenges that they were finding themselves to be overloaded with the work pressures. They were finding it difficult to cope up with the technology, as they were not pre-trained for those technologies and those initiatives to use them. And they also feel that there was lack of autonomy in curriculum design and assessment, of course. And they also, it was not all, but just a couple of school teachers mentioned that they were lacking the support of their leaders as well. They were finding it to cooperate. They were lacking the cooperation from their administrators. And professional recognition and conducive working condition was also a challenge which was highlighted by the teachers. Whereas the parents' perspective was somehow, I can say that was very positive, as they were viewing the outcome and the results of their students, their children, their wards. That was quite good as compared to the previous years. So they were ready to support all these educational initiatives in any way, and they had the positive view about this. And they appreciated the initiatives like e-education programs, which offer opportunities for their children to assess quality education, regardless of geographical constraints. And I would like to mention here that the mobile app that we just discussed, it not only is useful for the students and the teachers, it is useful for the parents as well, as there is an individual section where students parents also can get track of what the performance, students' performance track is also there. So it's very useful for the parents as well. So they highlighted their concern about the quality of education, as they find some of the parents express that students, their children, they are overindulged in the mobile phones, so they were not liking this thing. And a few still there is a full support from the government that they're providing mobile phones and gadgets to the student, but still in the remote areas, still there are some parents who could not afford the Android or the Mac or the latest technology mobile phones for their children. So they express that they still lack the resources and inadequate infrastructure. Teacher shortage is, of course, there in Punjab, that it is since long time in government schools, it has been noticed that there is a shortage of teachers. So that is the reason that teachers were feeling overburdened, and they were pressurized with the extra works. And the parents also expressed that they somewhere lack parental involvement in the other of the initiatives. They were satisfied with the Punjab Educare app, but about other initiatives, they feel that they are not that much involved. Their involvement is also very important, as they mentioned. And they also expressed that there should be transparent communication between the school, community, and the parents. So these about the second half of this second research question, that how these perceptions influence the implementation of these initiatives. So as we have discussed that all the stakeholders expressed positive attitudes towards educational initiatives, and it is considered as essential tools for improving the quality of education and enhancing learning outcomes. So due to all these positive attitudes and positive perceptions, increased participation was seen. And due to this, that engagement in implementation of education initiative could happen positively. And from the teachers and from the students, there was active support and cooperation with the school authorities and government agencies to ensure the successful execution. And it not only this, it also motivates to overcome implementation barriers such as the resource constraints, infrastructure limitations, and bureaucratic hurdles, which we will discuss in the following slides. So lastly, it creates an enabling environment for the implementation, fostering collaboration between schools, communities, and the government. So here on the this bar diagram, it's just I have just taken one example of the structured questions that I took for my for the quantitative data, and the results were like this. So these results are quite incomparable. I can say that almost all the stakeholders, student, teacher, and parents, they were very much familiar with all these initiatives due to the presence of media and maybe just the popularity of all these initiatives. These were very much popular among all the stakeholders. So my last research question was to know the challenges that were found while implementing these educational initiatives. Some of the initiatives, challenges we already have discussed, which were highlighted by the students and the teachers. So first was infrastructure, and that there are certain schools in the remote areas which still lack a good and adequate infrastructure. Resources are still constraining and becoming the challenge, and there is a shortage of teachers and a quality of teachers. I mean to say that there are certain teachers, there are still a set of teachers who are not willing to walk with the time. They are not willing to adopt technology as a regular feature of their teaching things. So that was a challenge for the administrators and of course for the students as well, that they could not get full support from the teachers. And this is very important challenge which was highlighted through the study. That was the curriculum alignment. No doubt, all the initiatives, they were highlighting that there should be digitalization of education, or there should be e-education programs should be there. There should be lectures by through EduSet or video lessons. But still, our educational initiatives were not aligning with the existing curriculum frameworks and standards, as they were just meant for the offline classes, and for the same curriculum, if we see it to be implemented in the digital platforms, is not at all suitable. So we need to change it. We need the amendments and upliftments in the curriculum design as well. So this was the challenge. After this, there were technological and digital divide. As we can see that still there is a group of people from the marginalized sectors that they don't have devices with them at their home, and they don't have internet facilities. So the digital divide still persists here. That is why we could not achieve our literacy rate to 100%. It's near 80% now. So some teachers and some authorities, they were resistant to change. They were not able to, or they were not willing to move with the changing trend. They still resist to adopt new technologies. And there was a problem, there was a challenge of assessment evaluation practices. And policy implementation and governance is also that inadequate governance structures, corruption, political interference hinder in proper implementation of policy objectives into tangible outcomes at the grassroots level and limiting the impact of educational interventions. So there was also equity gaps, socioeconomic disparities, because it persists in the society, it exists in the society. So even in the education field, if there was an equity gap, that students were not getting proper equitable services. And lastly, it was felt that engaging parents, community members, and other stakeholders in the educational process is essential for the success of all the educational initiatives. However, the research suggests that educational institutions in Punjab often face this kind of challenges, that meaningful partnership with the local communities and leading to limited support, accountability, and involvement in decision-making processes. This is something which is always found in the previous studies as well. So this is the conclusion of my study, that Punjab's educational initiatives have made commendable studies in enhancing access, quality, and inclusivity in education. And programs like skill development initiatives and Read Punjab and Teach Punjab have positively impacted students' outcomes and, of course, the socioeconomic development as well. Still, some challenges such as teacher shortage, infrastructure gap persist there. But the study suggests that continued investment, effective resource allocation, and policy reforms are essential to address these challenges and further improve the education system by prioritizing quality and inclusivity. So Punjab can ensure that all students have equal opportunities to thrive, contributing to the state's overall socioeconomic growth and well-being of this population. Thank you so much for your attention. I hope I have finished in time.
Yes, thank you so much, and thank you for your really interesting presentation. And for me, it was important that you were returning several times to the idea of engagement, which is critically important from our city-centered point of view of this very symposium. And yesterday at the first session of the symposium, we were discussing the social effects of the initiatives. And I don't know if you have any assessment of the effects of the social effects of your work, but it's visible that it's really not have only educational impact, but also it's like I feel the huge agency of changing the community, the society, and the social environment around your school, around your institution. So it is not possible to overvalue what you are doing, not only in education, but also in social perspective. And thank you. And we will move forward to our last but not least presentation today. Aldi Singla, who is music education and researcher, and who will prolong the line from India in our session today. Dear Aldi, you're welcome. Yeah, Arditi, we can't hear you, sorry. Not yet. Now you're muted, but so there is no difference. Maybe you try from another device or something like that. Dear colleagues, let's wait a bit. I hope that Aditi will manage.
Hello, sir. A very good afternoon.
Yes, now it works.
Yes, now it works. Yes, sir. I am visible now.
Yes.
A very good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, and welcome to our virtual stage. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. It's my great pleasure that today I get a chance to speak in all front of you on the topic social entrepreneurship practices of city universities and schools. I request ma'am to kindly attach my PPT with this. I request ma'am Daria.
I will try. Just a second.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, thank you. Yes, thank you so much, ma'am. So, I am Aditi Singla, Head of Department Performing Arts in DCM Group of Schools, Ludhiana. I chose the topic Social Entrepreneurship Practices of City Universities in School. First of all, I will tell you what is performing arts. Performing arts includes of music and dance, both programs, in which we teach Indian music, Indian dance, Western music and Western dance. As Ma'am Aarti and Ma'am Balwinder said, that Punjab is a very rich culture of traditions. So in India, we celebrate each and every occasions with dance and music. I chose this topic because in entrepreneurship, not only education, but performing arts also plays a very vital role. So introduction is that social entrepreneurship as a kind of entrepreneurship is defined as the non-profit and innovative practices that create social value and are carried out in the business world, public sector, or between them. From this perspective, various activities of non-profit organizations that they conduct to provide income, such as finding opportunities, bringing together the resource to take advantage of these opportunities and transforming them into concrete outcomes, can be considered as social entrepreneurship. Ma'am, can you please switch on to third slide? Slide number 3, ma'am.
This one, yes?
Yes. Please, can you switch to slide 3, challenges in urban education.
Sorry, could you repeat because I don't hear you well? The next one.
Slide 3.
Slide 3, ma'am. Slide 3.
Okay.
Yeah, we see on the first screen on the title slide. Yes, now it's
this one.
This one, okay.
Challenges in urban education. Urban educational institutions face resource constraints and socio-economic disparities. Innovative social entrepreneurship can address these challenges by fostering equitable access to quality education, The concept of innovation here refers to adapting an existing idea to new situation and using something invented by others in a creative way rather than inventing things from scratch. Thus, the purpose of social enterprises is to transform people's life permanently by changing the socio-economic equity in their favor by solving a social problem and benefiting society. Next slide, please. Case studies. Case studies highlight successful and social entrepreneurship initiatives in urban schools. These initiatives focus on mentorship programs, community partnerships, and sustainable development. Social entrepreneurs pioneer new approaches by developing new models, such as in our school, we create models in the different labs. We have ALC lab in which students learn robotics, aerospace learning. They are the reformers and revolutionaries as the actors of the social enterprises with a social mission. They make drastic changes in the way business is done in the social sector and have a bold vision. They try to create systematic changes and sustainable enhancements by addressing the root causes of problems and needs instead of making partial improvements to them. Impact on student empowerment. Innovative social entrepreneurship initiates empower students to become change agents in their communities. They foster leadership skills, social responsibility, leading to positive social impact. Social entrepreneurs are the ones who pursue new opportunities and support them to adopt the mission of creating social value and serving this mission, position themselves in a process of continuous innovation, adaptation, and learning, act bravely without being limited to existing resources, and demonstrate great accountability for the emerging results. In this, we taught the students a different concepts of the social entrepreneur, how they have to manage the entrepreneurship. Next slide, please. Community engagement. Social entrepreneurship initiatives in urban educational institutions promote community engagement and sustainable development. They create a platform for collaborative problem solving and social innovation. The benefits of social entrepreneurship is considered an essential building block of sustainable development of the countries, since it includes innovative approaches that address problems in the field of education, environment, health, and human rights. The source of this emerges with the context of social services and start social change. Last but not least, I will conclude my session with the conclusion that the studies conducted give this cycle as follows. Social enterprises releases the burden on the public sector through efficient and quality social services, contribute to economic growth by creating jobs and enabling the inclusion of disadvantaged groups in society by employing them. The social capital levels of individuals increase, civil society and accordingly participatory democracy are strengthened by the positive social change and triggered through the contribution to the development of the countries by providing opportunities. Social entrepreneurship contributes to social and economic growth, creates job, creates new means of entrepreneur and employment, enables disadvantaged individuals to participate in the labor market, offer new ways of solving problems by reforming public and social services, strengthens social belonging and unity by encouraging the voluntary activities of citizens in social initiatives, provides existing resources to be used efficiently to overcome social challenges, reduce the financial burden on local authorities, and expand the framework of regional social program. And those are the positive effects of social entrepreneurship. Thank you so much. If there is any question, you can ask me. And it's my great pleasure that I got a chance to present a paper here. And I just want to give thanks to Madam Daria, who gave this opportunity to me. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Aditi. I really thank you for this powerful examples and powerful pictures, powerful explanation about real life of the school, and this idea of social entrepreneurship is really valuable and important in terms of engaging communities, engaging of making step out the school walls, and that's really the stream, the way that we are also developing and working on our studies and educational programs. So, dear colleagues, I think that we are more than half an hour over the time. But we had an interesting conversation. We had an interesting discussions. We had a chance to discuss our topic from very different angles, from the angle of internationalization, of beauty, of social entrepreneurship, of engagement, and so all of that are really important and valuable for the idea of influence of educational institutions to the social communities around them. Thank you so much for this session. And I just want to remind you first that Natalia just mentioned in the chat that you are welcome to publish in our collection of work of after the conference. We will publish the set of articles based on the presentations on the you made here, and Natalia will be happy to share with you the conditions of and deadline, etc., etc.
Yeah, Igor, just I'm sorry, a small comment. Yeah. I've already uploaded the requirements for authors in the chat. Anyway, we will make an email. We'll send you an email, but you can download it from the chat. And the deadline is May 31st.
Yeah. So if you would like to start immediately, you can download the file from the chat. And the second announcement is that all the videos will be available at the conference, the Symposium website, and you can watch them. They will be available pretty soon, or you can just request for direct links. So we also will be happy to share your knowledges and your presentations this way. So thank you so much, dear colleagues, and I wish everybody to success, and wish to all of those who will stay at the symposium have more and other interesting conversations during it. Thank you so much, and we hope for the future collaborations with all of the institutions you represent. Thanks, bye.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.